What's up guys, my name is Nick and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be about a backpacking trip I took to the Four Loop Pass right outside of Aspen, Colorado. On this trip it's about 30 miles, so we ended up spending 4 days and 3 nights, and it was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. Can't wait to show you guys. Here we go. Alright, so as you can see here, we're on some back roads that we actually had to take due to some serious wildfires going on at the time we went. These roads were actually pretty cool because it took us, we took a left at Eagle, Colorado, through Sylvan Lake State Park, came through Basalt, and then we ended up coming up to Aspen, which made for a pretty cool backroading trip. Here we are in Aspen at the shuttle pickup for Maroon Bells, about to get a ride up to the trailhead. Taking a few pictures of the maps, making sure everything's good to go, and getting ready to start this trek. Down here you can see the lake right when we start, a beautiful spot. A lot of people were down here taking some pictures, so really good spot if you're interested in getting some good photos. Here we are starting to hike in. This is about a 4-mile hike or so to where the trail splits off to where you can do the Four Loop Pass either clockwise or counterclockwise. Coming up right here is where the trail divides. Like I said, counterclockwise or clockwise. We chose to go clockwise just because we had heard the views were a little bit better and the terrain was actually a little easier going that way. Here you see Crater Lake. Crater Lake is, like I said, about 4 miles in, and it's a good place to get some good pictures. Not as busy as Maroon Lake, but a little less crowded, so possibly some better photos. Here we are at our first creek crossing, filling up with water. I just brought a straw, which I regret doing. Not that the filtering straw wasn't good. It's a great tool, but having one of these filter bags that one of the guys brought, actually all the other guys brought, was a much better tool so I could keep clean water on me at all times rather than having to drink through that straw. Here we are pulling up to our first campsite of the trip. Such a good view here. Right down there is the creek, and we overlook this creek staring right at the face of the mountain. Just a spot tucked in behind the trees, quite a ways off the trail, but a super cool spot, nice and relaxing. This is just a view in the morning, the same campsite. I wanted to get up before everyone and just take in the scenery and relax a little bit. Here we are starting day 2. This is the day that we'll be hitting our first pass. A couple of things I forgot to note. On the first day, we started around 3 p.m. and got camp set up at about 7:30. So we weren't moving very fast, just a nice, easy hike in. And one of the coolest things was a deer came right up to our site, right into the campground. We didn't want to frighten or startle the deer or anything, so we just kept real calm and kept to ourselves. Day 2, starting at around 8:30 in the morning, finishing around 4:30 p.m. This day, we actually had to take on 2 passes. This day ended up being around 11 miles. On top of the first pass. Here we are at the top of the first pass of the day and the first pass of the trip. This one is West Maroon, and it was just amazing to get to the top of that and see some of these very amazing views. a little bit of a reward for the grueling hike in. Like I mentioned earlier, on this day, this is a 2-pass day, so we're actually going to the second pass here, which is called Frigid Air Pass. That's about 12,415 feet. And it was about right here that we actually saw the most traffic in between these two passes, because if you look out to the left here, this trail goes from Crested Butte to Aspen, so quite a few people just doing the day hike on this one.
Came from down there. Second pass. Heading up there. Almost.
And here we are at the top of Frigid Air Pass. Looking right here, you can see what we have ahead of us. Then looking back over here, you can see a little bit of what we just came through. As we're a ways in from that second pass going to our second campsite of the trip, we encountered this little ice field here. Smelled horrible. I'm not sure what died there or what happened, but it was not so good. Nonetheless, it was something pretty cool to see in the middle of summer. Down through there, you can see the trees that we're heading in. That's where the campsites are going to be. And here we are at our second campsite with about 100-foot waterfall right over there. It's a little hard to see, but super relaxing. Setting up camp. This one was not a bad site at all, but it was probably my least favorite just because we didn't have much tree coverage to our tents, and it definitely got cold.
Starting day 3.
Here we are starting day 3. One of the coolest things about this trip was on this trail right here to the right, we saw 3 wild mustangs, and I'd never seen any wild mustangs before, so that was definitely something cool to see. Here was our first real creek crossing that we had to maneuver around so we wouldn't get wet. Of course, one of my feet fell in, so I had one foot wet and had to change my sock after this one. But something that we noticed here that was pretty interesting is there are people that will actually run this entire close to 30-mile loop in a day. Not something I would want to do, but more power to them. Definitely a task, that's for sure.
All right, good to go. Coming up the third pass.
Here we are working our way up to the third pass. This is Trail Rider Pass, and it's about 12,420 feet.
There it is, third pass right up there.
This was by far the toughest pass because it felt like it was just straight uphill, and there was almost this false summit where you worked your way up and you get to an area where it feels like you've made it to the top, and you get right over the hill and you haven't even begun the actual pass. Here we are finally making it to the top of Trail Rider Pass. If you look over, that is Snowmass Lake, and that's one of the most popular spots on this entire trail. Such a beautiful lake, and that was really what we were building up to this entire trip. Here we are making our descent from Trail Rider Pass into Snowmass Lake. And to be honest, these videos just really don't do it any justice. This was by far the most beautiful spot on the whole trip. And the feeling that you get when you see something like this is just very, very hard to recreate in everyday life. Here we are at our lakefront campsite, the best campsite of the entire trip by far. Right here, just a few steps down into the lake with that crystal clear water and an amazing view of Snowmass Mountain. Just so hard to beat this campsite. Here was my favorite video of the entire trip. This was the morning after we camped out at the lake. Such calm water, so relaxing, and so easy to get lost in thought here. Here we are making our trek out. This is the last day. Another water crossing. Luckily this time I did not get wet, so that was a win. A lot of time just to reflect here and think about how good this trip was. Looking back here, you can see Snowmass Lake coming up on our final pass. This final pass was called Buckskin Pass, and that one is about 12,500 feet. So for day 4, we logged about 7 miles. It was definitely the hottest day, but fortunately, it was the easiest pass as far as the ascent up. Going down, it was a different story. It was very, very sharp descent, and we almost jogged our way down the mountain. Overall, we clocked in about 30 to 35 miles. It was a 4-day, 3-night trip, and one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had in my life. As far as this trip goes, I would definitely consider doing this again. There are so many different things that I've learned off this trip, and I'll make another YouTube video for that at a different time. If you like this video and like this content, please give me a like on the video, comment below, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.